In the space of reincarnation, there are numerous guilds. A group of heroes rise together, chasing deer to the heavens. One of its guilds is extremely mysterious. No one knows the name of the helmsman. Among the reincarnators, he is called the leading elder brother. Established Zhutian National Geography. The momentum is soaring, with the aim of dominating all realms. Keywords of the novel. Zhutian National Geography without pop-ups. Download the complete collection of Zhutian National Geography TXT, and read the latest chapters of Zhutian National Geography. Chapter 1. The Source of All Evil. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The source of all evil. You must use universe-level props to turn the situation around. There's no time left. The temporary captain of the reincarnation squad said to a female reincarnator. Originally, this mission was only on a low demon level, and even a fireball spell could be called the Great Sage, the Holy Ancestor, in charge of the King of Flames. However, after unlocking a hidden mission, it soon led to team destruction. This remote mountain cult group, which only knows how to use daggers per person, can actually summon the extraterrestrial demons of the old ruling class. The indescribable murmurs of the void are invading the minds of every member of the team, and a demonic sound is coming from the deep void to fill their minds. The female reincarnators are ragged, covered in wounds, and only have some cloth strips left on their bodies. Even in this dying situation, they are still hesitating whether to use them. She was lucky enough to win a cosmic level item in a lottery event for a reward level. The level of props in the reincarnation space is clear, ordinary, excellent, rare. Cosmic level is already one of the last few in a long series of levels. It can even be said to be a chance for resurrection. Props are more important than life. Use them quickly. The team leader was so nervous that every pore on his body exploded, and if he didn't use it anymore, everyone would fall here. Female reincarnators grit their teeth and no longer hesitate. Immortal Emperor 10-second battle consumption card, grade. Cosmic grade. Type. Disposable item. Attribute. The Immortal Emperor, generated from the reincarnation space, will have an average value of the Immortal Emperor in the standard cultivation system, and its appearance will be the average appearance of the Immortal Emperor. The Immortal Emperor will fight for you for 10 seconds. Description. This unit has a randomly generated Gaidai spell, which can reverse the long river of time in the current mission world of the reincarnator. Afterwards, there was a long string of additional descriptions that could be no less than 1,000 words, but female reincarnators could no longer manage so much. She popped up the reincarnation space window panel on her side, selected a backpack from the options, then consumables, and painfully chose to use it. The team leader breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing it and finally felt relieved. Warm and calm. A blue planet. From the perspective of the moon, this planet is too vibrant, with continents and oceans that are dazzling and intoxicating. A man is meditating with his eyes closed on the moon, his figure lonely in the vast universe. He was wearing a spotless scientific research white coat, black pants from an unknown location, and military tactical boots. Lee Bumian practiced physics to the extreme, unifying relativity in quantum mechanics, classical mechanics, and non-classical mechanics, integrating them into a unified mathematical model, and creating his own techniques. Due to the intricacy of this method, which goes beyond the end of contemporary human thought, its content cannot be described, the words spoken will be erased, and the characters written will disappear. Every time this cultivation runs for a week, it can generate a power within Lee Bumian's existence. It is in the earliest stage of cosmic history, from 0 to approximately 10.43 seconds, known as the Planck period. Gravity, electromagnetic force, weak force, strong force, and the four fundamental forces are all of the same existence, completely unified. He called it the source force. With Lee Bumian supplemented by the history of Eastern and Western philosophy, he established a unified theory of all knowledge systems and finally created a cultivation method that was most suitable for his own cultivation. The means are divine, surpassing them without fail. Because it is too powerful. He called this method, the ultimate skill of hanging and beating the heavens. He has achieved the small achievement in his own kung fu idea, and has become incomparable. He can move the cause and effect of time, and can also be killed on the spot if he is infected with the great terror in Cthulhu's system. It is hard to imagine what will happen after his great achievement. Is it time to leave? Li Bumian opened his eyes and realized that he must put an end to metaphysics and cultivate this method to the extreme. Therefore, he had to leave this world and go to a broader world, contemplate the heavens in all worlds, improve his martial arts, and reach the state of complete completion as soon as possible. In short, you must start filling cups immediately. For Li Bumian, even the most powerful strength would lose its meaning if he didn't fill the cup, just like laughing foolishly in a room without anyone, feeling very foolish. And I can no longer fill cups in this environment because my strength is too strong, and cross-version cup filling looks like garbage. It's like a hybrid saint buying a cone of ice cream in an urban supernatural novel, but being mocked by a mentally challenged female salesperson for being a poor loser. She immediately takes out 1 million yuan, appearing incredibly mentally disabled. Li Bumian must find an environment that can keep up with his own strength, and then start filling cups. Grape wine luminous glass. The spring scenery in the garden is intoxicating. May I ask when the bright moon will appear? The shepherd boy pointed far away. All the heavens and all the realms. I must start this great undertaking immediately. Li Bumian suddenly stood up, ready to break the void and head to other planes. Due to my excessive strength, I may not feel any sense of crisis when comprehending the various heavens and realms and achieving great success in my cultivation, which can lead to mental relaxation and slow progress. So Li Bumian's mind moved and he restricted most of his supernatural powers, trying to travel the heavens with only his physical body. When encountering difficult crises, he lifted the restrictions. He once cut off a galaxy as his personal space, and at this time, he used a large star to refine it. The signal could also be received violently on the moon, and his phone received a text message. Li Bumian felt a little emotional. Is there any old friend who couldn't bear to part with him? Suddenly, thoughts welled up. Awakening from drunkenness at dusk, the sky is full of wind and rain descending from the west tower. He took out his phone and opened it. I am Vivi. My husband is not at home and I am feeling lonely alone. Please enter the website xxxxx.xx and chat with me. Press T to unsubscribe. Li Bumian's forehead was lined with black lines. Bang! Directly squeezing the phone, a hand knife cuts through a large void crack, and leaves in the air. In the chaos of the void, there are many dangers, countless plane projections, and various complex concepts that seem to be going through countless tribulations, but for Li Bumian, it can be easily resolved. One after another, the virtual shadows of the planes flashed by, appearing to open the doors of various wonders. Just as he was about to try his luck in a world full of spiritual energy, he discovered an incredibly special void channel, consisting only of strange code instructions, which is a channel completely broken by electromagnetic force. Ha! Li Bumian, full of interest, violently broke through the barrier of the channel and entered the void channel, only to find a guy with an expressionless face and an ordinary appearance that could no longer be ordinary like a robot. This robot-like guy found himself blocked, perhaps due to a system malfunction, and the instructions did not include this code, so he launched an attack directly at Li Bumian. In an instant, it plundered the essence of many planes, and the Gaidai Emperor's technique could shatter the universe in time, bombarding Li Bumian away. My friends outside are not very polite. Bang! Immortal Emperor directly stabbed by Li Bumian, it exploded into a mist of blood. He's really a powerful person. Li Bumian felt from the smell of blood that wherever it was placed, it was a dominant presence in the world. Unfortunately, It's a big cause and effect with me. Li Bumian said it was like this, but he didn't take it seriously. He was already prepared enough to travel through various heavens and realms and refine his martial arts to the fullest. This person's strength was just a test, not a warm-up activity. But where does this passage lead to? If it's fate, let's go to this world. In short, Li Bumian must start filling cups immediately. In the underground stone chamber of the remote mountainous area on the low demon plain, it is dim and hazy. The flickering candlelight reflects the scene of hell, and the altar filled with corpses oozes blood. These cultists who only know how to use daggers insert their daggers into their chests and die suddenly, in order to summon the gods outside the universe. The corpses lying on the ground, with black tentacles growing from their mouths and eyes, and even bursting out of their stomachs, twisted and terrifying, swaying into cruel illusions, and the murmurs of decadent voices. Quickly drive the members of the entire reincarnation team crazy. By the time they are fully summoned, everything is already too late. Why haven't you arrived yet? Did you actually use it? The team leader even roared at the female reincarnator. I don't know. Although it has already been used. The panel is a bit disorganized. I have never encountered such a situation before. Female reincarnators are extremely fearful, with garbled characters appearing on the panel, which is impossible to occur in the space of reincarnation. Finally, Li Bumian followed the void passage and arrived at the side of this female reincarnator. Someone. Li Bumian had to start filling cups, but when he spoke like a fool, he seemed very foolish. To demonstrate one's personal style as an unparalleled powerhouse. Anyway, don't speak yet and pretend to be a master. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Recurrent Trains. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Recurrent Trains. On the surface, Li Bumian appeared calm and tranquil, like an unparalleled emperor, silent and majestic without anger. In fact, he is pretending to be a master without speaking. The team leader's long-awaited immortal emperor has finally arrived and can finally solve the crisis in front of him. The female reincarnator turned her head to look at the creature summoned by the cosmic level prop and was shocked. Is this the so-called average appearance of the immortal emperor? Impossible. Li Bumian, dressed in a big coat and white clothes, was victorious in snow. His black hair was like a waterfall, and his indifferent and stern heroic face was like a banished immortal. There was a strong pressure between his eyebrows and eyes, and his tall figure stood on a cliff no matter where. His appearance was already impressive, and he couldn't describe it in too many words, but at a glance, he could tell that he was a peerless and powerful person. If this is average, the other immortal emperors are either pure abstract, handsome concept creatures, or pure Cthulhu. But now is not the time to talk about these things at all. Lillian's panel window returned to normal and the countdown began. This immortal emperor can only fight for 10 seconds. Please help me deal with the enemy in front of me. Seeing that the immortal emperor had no movement, he just stood there without speaking. Lillian's heart was in turmoil and she immediately said. 9. 8. Li Bumian is speechless. Although you are very polite, asking someone to do something as soon as we meet, is it because you have an excess of self-awareness? Moreover, this simply does not reflect one's personal style. 7. 6. Why? Li Bumian spoke coldly and lightly. Lillian's chin is almost falling to the ground. Isn't it supposed to be a 10-second battle? Half the time has passed, my soul is weak. Immortal Emperor. What are you doing? Immortal Emperor. Team leader Zhang Wenjie is already desperate, but you still have 5 seconds left to go back. Li Bumian, in order to achieve the ultimate goal of his martial arts, limits his divine powers and tries to use only his physical strength. He cannot use it without encountering absolute threats. In fact, as long as he adjusts his laws and causes, he can understand what is going on. Immortal Emperor. Li couldn't help but feel a bit puzzled, pinching his chin and pondering. 1-0 The whole team was completely hopeless, and Lillian's face was as white as paper. It was still too childish to rely all her hopes on the universe-level props that were drawn in the lottery. And the head of the cult corpse swelled to the point of bursting out, unleashing millions of terrifying tentacles. As the team was about to collapse, the captain of the team had a vague expression, as if his soul had been drained away. His eyes were empty, and he was about to end with regret. However, looking sideways. Surprisingly, this immortal emperor not disappearing. Li Bumian looked at the strange attire of these people, just like a player in a game who doesn't care about appearance for their attributes. There was a person with heavy armor on their upper body, swimming trunks on their lower body, and crocodile leather shoes, which were even more mysterious than Asato's. Think of the strange channel before. I have roughly understood what the situation is, which may be the so-called infinite team or reincarnation team in the novel. Li Bumian pondered over his choice of words. Immortal Emperor. It refers to the public face in the channel. I have already killed him. Unexpectedly, it inadvertently extinguished your vitality. Since that's the case, it's not that we can't take action either. The bodies of the mad believers on the ground have completely changed, and the concept of the surrounding environment is being erased, gradually fading into a vast universe of stars. A vast terrifying object with black tentacles stands tall among the stars. The reincarnation team is completely hopeless. But just like killing a local chicken in a farmhouse, no, it's far easier by millions of times. Click. Not even a second is needed. This extraterrestrial demon has not had a chance to exert his power yet. Under the strong wind of Li Bumian waving his sleeve. Pounds. Excessive bleeding volume. Big bang. The indescribable monster exploded into a sky full of black rain, pouring on each reincarnation in the low demon-level mountainous area that restored normal isolation. The underground space was completely destroyed, spreading forward in a conical range for an unknown distance, and the earth was completely cut off. Looking around, it was a sticky black paint, all covered in corpses. This god from outside the universe. His body dies and his way disappears. And all the panels of the reincarnators have pop up messages. Hidden task. Eliminate the cult group of fanatics. Completed. Reward 100,000 points 1000 attribute points. Legend has it that the blind box X1 is a self-selected part of the equipment. Mall Legend Prop Exchange Coupon X3. Unlocking Milestone. Outer God Hunter. All current world missions have been completed after 3 seconds. Send back the recurrent train. A group of reincarnations stared blankly at Li Bumian, and the blood of the extraterrestrial demon soaked all over them, completely suppressing them. Is it really the so-called reincarnation team? Li Bumian looked at the flashy pop-up interface windows and murmured, it's better to avoid wandering around one world after another. It's better to travel through the heavens in this way. And he wants to try the power of the ultimate source dominator of this space. Is it being able to block one's own blow is worth looking forward to based on current performance? 3 seconds later. A group of reincarnators are transported back to the infinite train. And Li Bumian opened up a passage to explore the truth. Within the cycle train. Probably. That's the situation. Temporary team leader Zhang Wenjie was greatly shocked. The reward for this hidden task was too difficult, and unlocking the hidden conditions was also very complex, which was even more generous than the sum of all the tasks in the past 2 years. However, this is just a disease of scabies. The man in front of me, the immortal emperor, who had escaped from nowhere, was intercepted halfway. He was so powerful that he could ignore the rules of the reincarnation space and come and go freely without passing through it. He was unheard of and completely beyond his understanding. Zhang Wenjie told him everything about the cycle train. The cycle train, also known as the cycle space. The current carriage, numbered XGN.9699, is one of the recurrent trains. No one knows how long this train is, how many carriages there are, and there are countless. Although the train is a whole, each carriage does not interfere with each other, exists independently, and is limited by train rules. Each carriage is a small team. I don't know where this train is heading, but I know that every 10 days, teams in each carriage will be assigned tasks. By entering the designated world and completing the tasks, you can receive rewards to strengthen yourself. Points and redemption vouchers can be exchanged for various types of props in the train store. Universal attribute points can be used to enhance four-dimensional attributes: strength, agility, spirit, and talent. The difficulty of the task will randomly change according to the overall environment of the train. Sometimes there are reward levels without any difficulty, and watching movies can give you good props. Sometimes the death rate can reach over 99%, making it a situation where death is inevitable. It is also common for people in different carriages to kill each other. There are a total of 6 people in this carriage. Temporary Captain Zhang Wenjie, with an Eastern face, a rough beard, unkempt hair, and a tall physique. Lillian, a typical Gallic appearance, has 3-dimensional facial features, brown hair and blue eyes, and is in her early 20s. A cunning man with plate armor and leather shoes. There is also a pair of beautiful female twins on the opposite side. According to Zhang Wenjie, these two are newcomers and don't understand anything. The last one remained silent from beginning to end, and there was no sign of him in the hidden task instance just now. He sat in a corner, disheveled, seeming completely mentally deranged, with multiple layers of tattered coats, dressed as a complete wanderer. He just sat slumped in the corner breathing, one hand resting on his bent knee, but when asked anything, he seemed to have gone completely insane. I am just the temporary captain here and do not have the highest authority for this carriage. So this carriage. The death rate is extremely high. Zhang Wenjie sighed, hoping to break free from this infinitely terrifying purgatory. The man in front of him gave him a glimmer of hope. Li Bumian finally understood the general idea. It's really a reincarnation team. At this moment, the cunning man displayed his cunning qualities. Father, don't you know me anymore? I am your own son who has been separated for many years. The man in the armor and leather shoes had a sincere expression, and as he spoke, he suddenly became excited and said, "Dad." Li Bumian remained calm on the surface, but his heart was already in turmoil. What the hell? Zhang Wenjie quickly stopped, except for the captain of this carriage, he was the most mentally abnormal person in this carriage. What he wants to say is, "Can you help us? You are so strong that even the rules of reincarnation space can be ignored. I don't know exactly who you are, divine, so powerful. Unbelievable. Only you can do it. I know you saved my life shortly after we met, and these demands are very..." Zhang Wenjie hasn't finished speaking yet. Li Bumian waved his hand. Yes. This is what Li Bumian wants, achieving a state of cupping that transcends the world's most powerful experts, even if he doesn't say anything vulgar or pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. Try to ascend the mountain's crest, there is no trace of filling the cup. He appears motionless like a mountain on the surface, pretending to be a master, but his heart is already filled with dark satisfaction. However, immediate acceptance does not reflect one's personal style, so let's stabilize for a while. Temporary captain. That means you're not in charge here. Li Bumian had a slightly angry tone. There is something to be said in words. Zhang Wenjie immediately realized that he had angered him and looked at the homeless man sitting in the corner, hurriedly saying, "The captain of this carriage. I'm already crazy. He used to be a member of a certain guild. What exactly happened? I don't know either. In short, my mind has completely gone insane. The captain can know some intelligence about the next mission world to prepare in advance. It is precisely because of this that this carriage always arrives at completely unknown places, completely unexpected situations, and extremely high mortality rates. I have witnessed more than 100 deaths with my own eyes, and besides him, I can be considered the elder here. In the train of reincarnation, not only will it be killed by other reincarnators or monsters in the mission world, but if the mission fails, 1 million points will be deducted. This is already an astronomical number. Even the mission that can be said to be a must-die just now only has 100,000 points. If the score is negative, it will be erased by the train. And that man, the true captain of this carriage. I don't know how many points he has, but he, who is mentally unstable, did not participate in any task. But his points can't be deducted at all. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Leading Brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Leading Brother under the narration of Zhang Wenjie. Li Bumian has fully understood the situation here. In short, it is completely consistent with many novels. We are all forcibly dragged into the space of reincarnation. I can't find any common ground yet. The only thing that can be certain is that when there is a major change in mood, there is a possibility of being dragged here. Lillian spoke excitedly, showing great interest in Li Bumian. This person, who had emerged from somewhere, was incredibly strong. In a sense, Li Bumian came here because of her reasons. The reincarnators began to talk about their own situation. Lillian was deceived and her parents' assets, including her own hard work, were wiped out. Just as she was preparing to commit suicide, she was dragged into this place. The twins were once an idol group, but after receiving mediocre album sales, they were asked by the management company to go public and also faced serious financial problems. Zhang Wenjie was reluctant to talk about the past and briefly mentioned it. He only realized now that compared to those things, money is meaningless, and this is the real hell. The plate armor cunning man spoke up. At that time, I am watching porn. Wait for him to finish speaking. Zhang Wenjie has already stopped him. Anyway, can you take us back to the real world, back to Earth? Zhang Wenjie's gaze was filled with longing, as he was completely exhausted from the endless battles and the unfamiliar world of terror, only wanting to go home. Li Bumian did not answer immediately. Although these people may not be from the same place as where he came from, it was embarrassing for me to just come back. He just stood up and looked at the environment inside the carriage. The other 6 people didn't speak and didn't disturb him. This carriage is higher and wider than the standard carriage, relatively spacious, but not large enough to be called a hall, but the public space is fully equipped. There is a restaurant, a bar and an integrated wine cabinet, and even a small projection cinema, but they are all in tattered condition, like ruins. Outside the car window, there are strange and dazzling landscapes, sometimes a fantasy world, steampunk, or temples, as well as some primitive landscapes and landforms, sometimes a modern city or a cyber world polluted by light, constantly changing. The passing of trains also does not affect the outside world, passing through another dimension of these worlds. According to Zhang Wenjie, the decoration style and various furnishings and props in public spaces can be changed through points, but only the team leader has the authority. However, that person is completely insane. No matter what he says to him, even if he pokes him with a knife, he has no reaction, let alone doing things to improve the environment. He won't say anything, just sits in a corner breathing, hanging his eyes, not knowing what he is thinking, not even his name. Li Bumian left the public space and arrived at the corridor at the rear of the carriage, where there were only 6 room doors. The length of the corridor will vary with the number of cyclists inside the carriage. Every additional member will have an extra door. It can be considered as the member's personal space in the car. Zhang Wenjie said that the space inside can be changed with points according to the ideas of each reincarnator. Compared to the train mall props that enhance strength, the points spent on these items are very small. A decoration-style gift package only requires 5 points. Li Bumian has no interest in exploring these rooms. Props in the mall. Is there anything that can make you leave here? Li Bumian asked, isn't there a setting where you can leave here based on how many points, or what achievements you have achieved? Of course there is. The highest priced item in the mall. It's a wish. Any wish can come true. You cannot purchase with points, you can only use redemption vouchers. Need. Heavenly level redemption vouchers. And the way of obtaining it is completely unknown. It's hard to imagine how terrifying, not even incomprehensible, a task must be completed in order to obtain that kind of redemption coupon. Zhang Wenjie said bitterly. I see. This so-called cycle train indeed contains many mysteries. Considering that you have helped me understand here. Now you have two choices. Li Bumian believed that he no longer had to go through so much trouble wandering around various worlds. The reincarnation train was a big world, and perhaps he could meet opponents he was interested in. Although in this carriage, except for the twins, they have all grown in the space of reincarnation, it is not significant. For people like Li Bumian, who have reached this level, they only have the difference between an ordinary person and an ordinary person with a gun. But he glanced at the wandering captain in the corner, who was dying and breathing softly. This person had to be far above the so-called immortal emperor, and his breath had returned to simplicity, no different from ordinary people, capable of bearing the words of an unparalleled powerhouse. I don't know what I've experienced, but I'm going insane. Everyone in the carriage was excitedly watching Li Bumian. Just as the mysterious man in the carriage was about to shout out his father, he was interrupted by Zhang Wenjie. He didn't want to displease the unreasonable person in front of him at such a critical moment. The first one. I can send you back to your original world now. But you have to take on some risks. Li Bumian is telling the truth. And for this extraordinary person, Zhang Wenjie has long been devoted to the world. The group of reincarnators also had an excited expression, their eyes filled with light. What risks? I can bear it. Without hesitation, Zhang Wenjie blurted out that he didn't want to stay for even a second in this cycle of despair. This train. Connecting each and every one of you. You are an indispensable part of this train, deeply integrated, and a whole. I can forcibly break through the mall system to exchange all items. You can also forcibly cut open the connection between you and the train. And no matter which one. I must all confront the ultimate ruler of the cycle train. I don't know if he can block my blow. Or maybe you can fight with me for a while. Of course, although the probability is not high. But it could also be me. Dying on my own. Regardless of the outcome. The aftermath at that time is likely to instantly kill all the reincarnations on the train, including you. At that time, I don't have time to take care of you. What do you think? Do you want to take a gamble? Li Bumian sat casually on the card seat, 2 fingers tapping on the table, his expression unpretentious and skilled, but his powerful aura was undoubtedly revealed, full of pressure. It seems that slightly aroused the fear of the ultimate ruler of the reincarnation space. The scenery outside the window suddenly turned dark, with no scene at all. Not only was the XGN.969th carriage where Zhang Wenjie and his companions were located, but all the reincarnations in the carriage dared not breathe under such pressure. This kind of thing has never happened. It's as if it's really. The ultimate mastermind behind the reincarnation train feels a strong threat and fear, causing a brief chaos in the entire train system, with an atmosphere so terrifying that it's suffocating. What Zhang Wenjie and his team don't know is. Years later, this moment was known as the darkest day, for unknown reasons. However, all the reincarnators in the space of reincarnation fell into darkness, and word of mouth even became an inexplicable legend, being solved for various reasons. Some reincarnations claimed that someone had obtained the heavenly level exchange voucher, while others claimed that the ultimate controller behind the train was playing against an incomprehensible peerless superpower. In short, countless rumors flowed out, but the truth cannot be confirmed. Go back to the present. What about the second option? Zhang Wenjie was somewhat defeated in fear and wild gambling, and quickly asked. At this moment, the scene outside the window returned to normal. Let me just say. The strong. The guild you mentioned before. Li Bumian probably guessed what this so-called guild is. It is an alliance and interest group composed of different carriages in a large-scale dungeon where reincarnations fight against each other. Some tasks have extremely long world processes, as people in other carriages say, even for decades or even centuries. It is an inevitable product of large-scale fighting. The true captain of this carriage used to be a member of a certain guild. However, there is a tacit understanding in the space of reincarnation. As long as you don't join the guild, you won't be the main target of attacks in dungeons where you fight each other. Those guilds are so powerful that they are terrifying, and the teams they join are all reckless lunatics. Those guys are all trying to stand on the top of the heavens and the world. Do you want to? Zhang Wenjie added, is there a better option? Li Bumian remained silent for a while. Truly powerful. Not only from one's own strength. And there is influence. The supreme strong, even without the need to move their thoughts, their enemies will die invisibly. This can help oneself cultivate the martial arts to the fullest. Anyway, you must start filling the cup immediately. It seems that these guilds are all black and evil forces. I have decided to establish a guild. Also join this game. The strong players from all over the world are all in this game, right? Let me take a look. The quantity of the universe. Li Bumian was pondering the name of the guild. What kind of ordinary would it be? Various gangs and clubs were too cliché, appearing like children's books, killing and killing, or various mystical and carefree. They were either thugs or forced to fill cups. It must include wisdom, humanistic care, and transcendence. The ultimate way. A name that is capable of dominating the summit. I am a traveler, ready to measure the heavens with my spare feet. The guild name is called Zhutian National Geography. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. National Geography. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 National Geography Zhutian Geography. Zhang Wenjie repeated word by word in his heart, although the meaning was unclear. It was like a tourism promotion channel, spoken from an ordinary person's mouth, which was completely different from the feeling spoken by the extremely powerful person in front of him. It looked like it was so powerful that it exploded, like a blockbuster that it exploded. There are many guilds in the reincarnation space, and Zhang Wenjie has also heard of them. There are domineering Jiaying guilds and terrifying Tian coffins, and these people have a certain level of naming skills. But this far exceeds everything. I don't know how to describe it, as if it has completely transcended everything, but it's all-encompassing, everything contained, and it beats everything. What does country mean? The younger sister of the idol twins asked weakly, where and what country comes from in this terrifying space of reincarnation. Boom. Li Bumian felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He had no expression on his face and his heart was already shocked. How could I know such a problem? Just to make it sound more sophisticated. But in order to showcase his superior style, he began to forcefully explain. The so-called home country, world. After cultivating one's character, one's family should be in harmony. After achieving family harmony, one's country should be governed. After achieving national governance, the world should be at peace. In a world of endless destruction, remember not to be blinded by blood and controlled by the will of the primordial. A broad perspective is needed to measure the heavens. Those who are originally chaotic and have not been cured are not good. This is known as knowing the root, the ultimate knowledge. Li Bumian forced an explanation, but in fact, it was not the case. The more characters he knew, the better. Otherwise, he would not be able to fill a cup himself. He would pull out a stove and try a teacup with a stone tripod and peach branches and bamboo. Lilian's understanding of Chinese is limited to a small amount of points exchanged in vernacular Chinese at the mall, and her eyes are a bit dizzy like mosquito coils. Although Zhang Wenjie may not understand very well, he also understands a few things. He is truly someone who can ignore the rules of reincarnation space. What kind of pattern is it? I am willing to lead a horse to the ground for adults. Please let me join the guild. Please. The treacherous man took off his plate armor and half knelt on the ground, revealing the more ghostly anime cute soft sister T-shirt inside. Li Bumian remained unmoved on the surface and was already deeply shocked, but unexpectedly, his attire was completely indescribable. Zhang Wenjie's brain is a bit blank. Is he so shameless? Or is it that the cunning man takes the lead and becomes the elder? Seemingly completely ignorant, does this person actually have an extremely deep sense of the city? Zhang Wenjie did not know the name of the treacherous man. He was the only one among the reincarnators in this carriage who did not know his name except for the true captain. Coupled with the previous mission world, he had only experienced it with him twice in total. In short, the cunning man is quite cunning, and his behavior is completely unpredictable except during tasks. It is difficult to say whether it is an organic disease or a mental illness, or both. It's not necessary. Li Bumian waved his hand and realized that he was not a great and boundless person. He wanted to establish a charity organization to help all reincarnated beings escape the sea of suffering. The most important reason is that Li Bumian must improve his martial arts and reach the pinnacle of the supreme martial arts of the world. Due to my excessive strength, my understanding of things has lost its level. While I am comprehending the vast world, perhaps I can achieve better results through the eyes of others. Part of the reason is that if you don't have much influence, it's not enough to fill the cup. Although the sweeping monk is extraordinary, as long as he doesn't reveal his name and too much information, he can still achieve the same effect by maintaining his sense of mystery. His power is everywhere, as long as his destiny is supreme. Li Bumian looks as stable as Mount Tai, and his heart is already a little dark and cool. It's too damn his mother to drink. Then, at a critical moment, we can help the general of the building tilt, turn the tide of the collapse, take control of the river and mountains with one palm, strike the heavens and earth with one blow, and suppress all the cup holders. It's really amazing. It is truly the supreme realm. You don't have to be so reserved, you should carefully consider your words and sentences. I do provide shelter for guild members. But this is conditional. Zhutian National Geographic is an organization dedicated to humanistic care, exploring the truth, and can also be said to be exploring the truth. The battles between reincarnations and the eradication of black and evil forces are just insignificant reserved programs. This reincarnation space is a great carrier for guilds. I want each member to experience the world of missions every time. It is best to create a journal report in a paper that records the truth learned in the world, whether it is nature, life, culture, or any subject matter, to achieve unity. I will review and retain each member's information, and release it when it is mature. I have my purpose. Can it be done? Li Bumian sat on the card seat, calmly picking up a glass and taking a sip of water to pretend to be a master. In fact, he can't make up his mind. He's always on his own, without any management experience, and it's just a young lady getting into the sedan chair once. For these guys, journal reports are too complicated. Don't say it's a paper. I prove Hodge's conjecture directly, his mother. From now on, I will be the responsible editor of Zhutian National Geographic. Suppress all enemies. The treacherous man ascended to the throne to the point of suffocation, making him the god of horses. He immediately declared himself as the first member of the guild. Li Bumian said, In fact, this conjecture has been proven in the unified mathematical model that incorporates everything in the ultimate achievement of the heavens. 10 minutes later. Lillian returned to her personal space in the carriage and let out a long breath. She just realized that after returning to the train, the strange man who suddenly appeared had been in a constantly shocking state, and even the clothes that were torn in the mission world had not been changed. When returning, the reincarnation space will repair all the injuries of the reincarnator. Even in a dying state, it can instantly heal. She still only has a cloth strip hanging on her body, and the well-defined collarbone is already faintly visible below. The cracks in her tattered sports pants have split to her waist, revealing her blue and white underwear. She only found out now, did she chat for so long in this state. Lillian spent 5 points to improve the decoration style of her personal space before. After each door in the car corridor, it can be customized according to the preferences of the reincarnators, and even the size of the space can consume points for expansion. Considering that living in the reincarnation space takes a day, one must enjoy the best life. Lillian's living environment is quite good, whether it is hard or soft decoration, or laying suspended ceilings, they are all quite luxurious. In the second-floor duplex, there are groove light strips below each step of the suspended staircase, which is a modern and luxurious style. The jazz white floor tiles, wooden walls inlaid with champagne gold aluminum lines, iron lamp holders and crystal chandeliers, furniture and furnishings are all in a warm white color tone. There is also a small viewing pool below the cultural brick wall. Lillian looked into the full-body mirror, with a figure of 1.78 meters tall and well-proportioned, without any makeup. Her delicate facial contours, tall nose bridges, and emerald green eyes could also hold up the word jelly. Her naturally brown chestnut hair and model-like body shape were enough to show off. She pulled out the panel window and took out a set of ordinary clothes from the backpack space to replace them, including jeans and a white coat that was below her waist, lined with a gray elastic vest. She is still thinking about what happened earlier. Under the mysterious man's statement, everyone except for the true captain of the carriage also entered the guild with the atmosphere. Wait a minute. It's equivalent to saying as long as the mysterious man's task is completed, the person who intercepts the immortal emperor and kills the outer god will provide protection, just like traveling in the space of reincarnation. Isn't this just cheating? Where is the space of reincarnation? It's just a paid day trip, my soul is weak. Moreover, salary is still the strongest purchasing power currency in the world, and the cycle space points. Lillian propped her hands on the mirror, feeling a bit excited subconsciously. Do you think you are? Female lead. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Gaidai Strong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Gaidai Strong. After experiencing a mission world, the reincarnators of XGN.9699 all need to rest, and the implementation is too stimulating. Li Bumian tried his best to minimize communication with these reincarnators, as excessive communication could lead to his own cup-filling failure, as he was pretending to be a supreme master. Although they are already members of their own guild. Due to the complete mental disorder of the captain of the carriage, he never moved anywhere from beginning to end, sitting in a corner of the public space like a dead person, completely collapsed, and indifferent to worldly affairs. Li Bumian closed his eyes and meditated in Captain Zhen's room, practicing his techniques in an attempt to evolve more divine powers and mysteries. There was no decorative beauty in this space, and that crazy man had never changed at all. It was just a small dining table in the middle of 2 rows of benches in an ordinary carriage. The other 4 members were resting in their own rooms, except for Zhang Wenjie, who couldn't sleep, tossed and turned, and had countless thoughts in his mind. His room was custom-made to be no different from his former bedroom, as if he were a nostalgic person. Zhang Wenjie turned on the light and sat up. He couldn't just do nothing like this. Until now, he didn't even know the name of this mysterious man, he didn't know where he came from, why he was so powerful, and suddenly said he wanted to establish a guild. Although he had verbally joined, he still felt a bit uneasy. Journal reports seemed somewhat unreliable. Zhang Wenjie fought multiple dungeons in the reincarnation space. At the peak of this carriage, there were more than 20 people, including some with ulterior motives, who plotted to assassinate the same team member in order to monopolize the task reward. He has watched too many tragedies. One newcomer after another joined, and Zhang Wenjie still vividly remembers the appearance of many people. One newcomer after another died, torn apart by monsters, or burned alive. The reincarnators in the other carriages were even more sinister and vicious, using every means possible. Until now, the only person he trusts more is Lillian. Although she is a foreigner, she has experienced despair in the real world and came to the reincarnation space. She seems to be reborn from a cocoon, very strong, and can remain calm in the face of dangerous situations. It is also through our joint efforts that we were not ambushed by a malicious teammate. In the end, the two of them survived. Afterwards, he met the mysterious man and twins, and during this process, several new couples also died. Zhang Wenjie is well aware that strength is the only element of the space of reincarnation, whether it is in terms of strength or spirit. That mysterious man, as long as he wants, can abandon himself at any time. He has doubts about this man who even has space for reincarnation. With his unpredictable emotions, his fate may also change at any time. He lives in a shadow, and even a slight mistake can lead to irreparable harm. What Zhang Wenjie didn't even know was that Li Bumian was simply trying to fill a cup. We have to talk about it again. Zhang Wenjie made up his mind and changed into clothes. The true captain of the carriage had a mental breakdown and was indifferent to worldly affairs, relying solely on himself. He has no emotional attachment to the twins now, but it is difficult to say in the future that the cunning man is also a person of unknown meaning. At least, he should take responsibility for the member of Lillian. Zhang Wenjie took a deep breath and left the room. He glanced at the true captain in the corner of the public space in the corridor passage. If that man's mind was normal, it would be great. With his strength, this carriage wouldn't have suffered so much. In a dungeon where multiple carriages fought against each other, all teammates had already died. I was already in a desperate situation, unable to retreat. The enemy was a well-known guild group, and everyone was much stronger than me. But when they saw the real captain, it felt like they had seen a ghost. One of them said, "It's a remnant of that guild." Subsequently, more than 10 people immediately fled, scared out of their wits. Even though the true captain never moved from beginning to end, he just sat slumped as usual. Zhang Wenjie only then realized that the true captain was a remarkable figure, a remnant party that had already destroyed the strongest guild. He should have taken responsibility and had a conversation with the man who intercepted the immortal emperor. That would be great. It's hard to imagine what happened. It dealt a heavy blow to the person's spirit, completely breaking down, unable to even go crazy, just silent, completely silent, like a living dead person. Zhang Wenjie took a deep breath, exchanged some mall items with points, and then knocked on the door of Li Bumian's room. Li Bumian opened his eyes. "Come on in." Li Bumian roughly guessed who the newcomer was, and at this level, one can roughly judge a person's personality based solely on their mental state. Twins are timid and cautious, while Lillian is gentle on the outside and tough on the inside. Zhang Wenjie is a typical middle-aged crisis man who is exhausted from thinking too much. The meaning of the cute soft girl with leather shoes is unclear, possibly due to cerebral palsy. The true captain of the carriage is trapped by an extremely powerful demon, living in the past. Only Zhang Wenjie can come. Li Bumian was originally planning to send him away quickly. He must maintain the mystery of a master. A master without mystery is like a DVD without decoding function, pure iron waste. But when Zhang Wenjie came with a large and small bottle of fruit, it was true that he was going to make Li Bumian laugh. Fortunately, the burden of the master completely stabilized his cold and stern demeanor. Zhang Wenjie spent a lot of money to buy the batch of high-quality goods with the highest points in the mall. Originally, the reincarnators would not use their points for such things, but only for improving their strength. Spending hundreds or thousands of points to buy meals and drinks without any benefits is extravagant and wasteful to the extreme, because it is a joke on one's life. There are all kinds of props in the mall, including consumables that can enhance combat power, as well as pure and delicious food and various alcoholic beverages that do not have any benefits. Because the mysterious man in front of him was able to survive this calamity, Zhang Wenjie spent 3,000 points to buy a bottle of good wine. Naya Continent Specialty Elf Fruit Wine. Grade: None. Type: Miscellaneous. Property: None. Description: specially brewed by the Noah Continent Light Elves, bathed in the radiance of the Holy Spirit and fermented, with a unique taste. Zhang Wenjie spent more than 10,000 points on other things he brought, buying things that were completely useless to him, but he had to do so. He placed the bottles and jars on the table. Sitting across from Li Bumian, I didn't know how to speak for a moment, but I just took out a glass and filled it for Li Bumian. Li Bumian is so speechless that he's about to vomit blood. You make me look very low level, my friend. He could see that these were not ordinary goods, so he must have asked Zhang Wenjie for them. However, forcibly filling the cup like this cannot reflect one's own style. I know what you're trying to say. I have no interest in these mundane things. Li Bumian's tone was extremely cold. Zhang Wenjie's heart immediately sank. Li Bumian continued, your current situation, without further control, will never be at ease. This way. Take these things back and gather everyone together tomorrow to enjoy them no later. At the same time, I am also studying and researching the mall system. How should your points and redemption vouchers be allocated? How to construct the framework of Zhutian National Geography. I don't just need an editor. There are also the strongest members. Li Bumian gave a hand and sent Zhang Wenjie to leave quickly. Zhang Wenjie felt relieved. Zhenai. Gaidai strong. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Physics Engine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Physics Engine. The next day. There is no day and night change on the reincarnation train. Although it is possible to spend points to change the scenery outside the window, the captain with permission is mentally unstable. In personal space, it can be customized. The retired twin idol group has never slept so well, even in the real world before. They were dragged into space in the mission world of the low magic plane. Although they encountered a fatal situation in the end, the overall flow was not too difficult, so they all survived. Because of some fear, the sisters also slept together at night. Xiao Zhixin vaguely heard someone knocking on the door. She woke up in a daze wearing only a pink camisole pajama, sat up, yawned, and stretched lazily. As a former idol group, both Xiao Zhixin and Xiao Jiqing are impeccable girls. Even though they are over 20 years old, their appearance still has a youthful and charming feeling, delicate and charming. The two women have different tier mole positions, one in the corner of their left eye and the other in the corner of their right eye, which has pierced the souls of countless unemployed men and young people, and their popularity has reached its peak. Due to the sluggish environment in the music industry, brokerage firms often choose to use momentum to empty out the value of artists, and fall into a vicious cycle. Even if they have talent, in this frenzy of low quality and high output, the value of artists will gradually decrease. Two people without a background are the victims of this environment. After being completely drained of value, even if one joins a self-media platform, the response is mediocre, but due to the unexpired contract with the brokerage company, they can only choose to continue. Until the agency proposed a change in video style, with body as the main focus, the two women finally suffered a mental breakdown under long-term oppression. Finally dragged into the space of reincarnation. Xiao Zhixin opened the door drowsily. At least for her, Zhang Wenjie became the only one who depended on the sisters now, compared with those demons who ate people and didn't spit out bones. Opening the door is indeed the typical middle-aged crisis man. Pack it up. I have something to say to everyone. Zhang Wenjie said calmly. 10 minutes later. All the reincarnators of the XGN 9969 carriage gathered together. The public space is dilapidated, and the seats and chairs are all covered in rust marks. Nyobi wine, Nyobi fruit, you and me on the Nyobi tree. The treacherous man is enjoying himself. I don't know whether Zhang Wenjie has put medicine in these things. They are simply delicious and delicious. His mother is doing lung care. His mother's delicious food is suffocating. He has food scraps on both sides of his face. He also makes the innocent sound of children eating sweets, which is only shown in adults, but it is a scary and spooky laugh of jia jia. It is too treacherous. Lilian hates this man extremely, completely unclear in meaning. Sometimes it gives people a sense of oppression from the prequel of a fantasy movie, and sometimes it's completely like an idiot. With the arrival of the twins. All members are here. The true captain is not in the consideration range. He has been sitting in that corner for several years and will not move even when the sky falls. Even if he enters the mission world, he is still alive and dead. If no one cares, he will sit in a collapsed position at the teleportation point until the mission ends. All right. Zhang Wenjie clapped his hands and asked each member to pop up a space window, displaying panel properties, remaining points, redemption vouchers, and all props. Then Zhang Wenjie opened the mall system and explained to Li Bumian some more detailed things about the reincarnation space. The bodies of each reincarnator are digitized. There are 4 basic attributes, known as the 4 dimensions of combat. Strength, agility, spirit, talent. Strength corresponds to universal dimensions such as cell strength, weight bearing, endurance, and physical resistance. Agility corresponds to common dimensions such as neural response speed, explosive power, and muscle toughness. Spirit corresponds to universal dimensions such as psychic resistance and active skill consumption slots. There is an equipment system in the reincarnation space, which usually needs to reach a certain value in order to wear equipment. Talent is quite unique, with only 10 attribute points being able to increase a bit. The skills, techniques, bloodline, etc. exchanged in the mall all require a certain number of talents to learn. These 4 are just the most basic attributes, while others have several advanced attribute points, such as internal power, true element, spiritual power, faith, and so on. Each reincarnator also has active skill slots and passive skill slots. You can exchange various skills in the mall. Very good. Now you can use all your attribute points talents. Li Bumian said seriously. He believed that these attribute points had no meaning, at least for him. Li Bumian restricted all his divine powers and controlled his physical strength extremely delicately. Otherwise, a casual punch would be the power of Gu Liheng to count the mass of the Milky Way, and the consequences should not be underestimated. After Li Bumian unified his basic abilities, he had already stepped out of the realm of power, and was able to see the mysterious and extraordinary master of the supreme martial arts of the heavens. He had already been to another plane, where the reincarnation team had summoned the immortal emperor before, and Li Bumian keenly sensed that the speed of light varies in different planes. In the former plane, the reason why the speed of light is close to 300,000 km per second is due to insufficient computing power. Just like a physics engine program, if the speed limit is not set, collision effects cannot be achieved, and everything is in a discrete state. In a sense, the upper limit of the speed of light also indicates the limit of this world, which is a compromise on computational complexity. In fact, many bit planes are quite slow and their computation speed is extremely slow, but people living in this plane cannot feel it, just like the characters being manipulated in games cannot feel the speed of the host's computation. In fact, the frame rate is extremely low, but people running in the program have an absolute disconnection from this understanding. For Li Bumian, the so-called immortal emperor and others are just people with specific permissions in designated positions, like ants. Li Bumian not only stepped beyond his strength, but also beyond his speed. This physical body is capable of striking the heavens. The reason why Li Bumian believes that the ultimate ruler of the reincarnation space has a certain level of proficiency is that it is an opponent that can be expected, because it can balance the complex and vastly different computational programs between countless planes, allowing all reincarnators to run in a stable physical engine, the reincarnation train. From this perspective alone, Li Bumian believed that this guy might be able to block a slightly serious blow from himself. All the heavens and all the realms are crouching tigers and hidden dragons, and one must also refine their own martial arts to the fullest, otherwise there will be endless troubles ahead. All talents. Zhang Wenjie swallowed his throat, unsure if Li Bumian was joking. But the person who violated the rules of reincarnation space stayed in the train for a day and a night without any incidents, as if the person behind the scenes controlling everything was wary. And yesterday when I went to find this mysterious man, I also spared no effort and wanted to hand over everything to him. But full of talent, isn't this just for fun? That's right, all talents. You don't need attribute points like this. The highest utilization rate is the usage permission of mall props. Are you questioning my judgment? Li Bumian's 2 fingers were tapping on the table. He did need to cultivate these guys into strong ones, otherwise the editor would suddenly die while collecting wind from the heavens, completely failing to reflect his superior style. Zhang Wenjie had no choice but to make wild bets, and now he can only trust this mysterious man. Take all the accumulated attribute points. I haven't waited for Zhang Wenjie to finish speaking yet. The mysterious man suddenly became excited. It's already finished. Responsible editors suppress all enemies. The cunning man's fingers twitched as if he were twitching, frantically pressing on the window panel and instantly finishing all the clicks. Li Bumian remained calm on the surface, but was somewhat shocked in his heart. How loyal was he? The first capable subordinate was actually cerebral palsy. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Reincarnation Store. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Reincarnation Store. Qiao Zhixin and Qiao Jiqing are newcomers who don't understand anything and obediently follow in a somewhat oppressive atmosphere. Lillian is half believing and half skeptical, without any action. She has experienced several mission worlds and is well aware of their bloody terror. But after seeing that Zhang Wenjie also had all his talents, she no longer hesitated and completed the requirements. Zhang Wenjie sighed a bit. The hidden task rewards this time were extremely generous. Although there were many points and attribute points, they could be gradually accumulated. However, this legendary level exchange voucher is extremely rare and a super reward for completing the must-die hidden task. It could have allowed the entire team to make a qualitative leap. Although it cannot match some of the giants in the reincarnation space, it can also be called a strong one. I only hope to maximize its use. Is it really a reliable decision to hand over everything to this man? Zhang Wenjie is worried. Very good. With the points and redemption vouchers in your hands. The highest level of cultivation or skill that can be purchased. Show me. Li Bumian was also curious about this so-called shopping mall system, but he wanted to see what the mastermind behind the scenes was doing and what they were selling. Some techniques and passive skills can also improve basic attributes. Let's take a look at what can improve these. Zhang Wenjie still remembers attribute points, because for most reincarnators, basic attributes and buying some powerful hot weapons are the hard truth. Buying these items for later growth, not to mention growth, people are already gone. I just hope that this mysterious man who still doesn't know his name can indeed protect himself and these people, as long as he completes his somewhat absurd journal report. Advanced items in the mall category require redemption vouchers. In the last hidden mission, each person obtained 3 legendary redemption coupons. Let's use it all for this gathering. Zhang Wenjie popped up a window, selected the mall, and approached Li Bumian to show him. Under countless dazzling classifications, I chose the skill category. And the various categories that are longer than job-seeking tendencies left Li Bumian speechless. The cultivation, fantasy, and mysterious abilities are all inclusive. Witches and cultivators have a complete range of life skills and bloodline qualifications, as well as a wide variety of beast-making cards. The subcategories of subcategories have reached the point where multiple screening tags must be added to find what they want. Li Bumian suddenly lost his desire to explore, it was too troublesome. This way. You choose the one that best suits you. It can also be said that it's something I like. Make your own judgment. Just one thing is good, it's a big taboo to be miscellaneous but not precise. After understanding one thing to the extreme, one can also apply it by analogy. Li Bumian said so. It's already selected. Purchase completed. The cunning man is surprisingly fast. Terror panel life value. 30,000 points, legendary item exchange voucher x3. Grade. Legend. Type. Passive skill. Requirement. 100 points of talent. Attribute. Automatically embedded in passive skill slots after consumption, all attributes except for talents are weakened to 1 point, can be turned on or off, and obtain features such as terrifying creatures. Description. This life is extremely terrifying. Every time you kill a reincarnator, you can merge it into your own body and obtain all the basic attributes of that reincarnator. This feature only takes effect and the skill is activated, with a maximum limit of 3. Additional description. This passive skill can be upgraded through points, and adding a legendary redemption coupon every 30,000 points can unlock a maximum limit. The cunning man immediately activated his skill. Cough cough. In an instant, the treacherous man's body became extremely weak, hanging on like a breath, his face as white as paper, and he sat down on the chair with no strength. He suddenly looked haggard as if he had aged 10 years. The average adult male's 4-dimensional combat is 10 points, and the current cunning male is likely unable to defeat an elementary school student without absorbing other reincarnators. Zhang Wenjie sighed, it seemed that the treacherous man was truly cerebral palsy, and he was not on guard. This skill with a reducing benefit effect, without the cooperation of his teammates, was completely seeking death. However, the growth effect of this skill is truly amazing. It is truly a prop that can only be purchased with 3 legendary exchange vouchers. You should know that the attribute points of each task reward are fixed, and no matter how many times it cannot be much, unless you have experienced more tasks. If one continues to grow with such snowball rolling skills, they can become a terrifying data monster. No, the most crucial thing is, can the treacherous man see through the protection of the mysterious man and directly kill the super powerful reincarnator to obtain all attributes? Zhang Wenjie couldn't see through this man, whether he was foolish or if the city was as deep as possible. I found that I can buy the most valuable. These are the missing pages. For example, this one. Twin sister Qiao Jiqing discovered a prop. 9 forms of mending the sky. First form, value. 10,000 points, legendary prop exchange coupon x1. Grade. Legend. Type. Active skill. Requirement. 100 talent points. Attribute. Can release the first formula of the 9 heavenly mending formulas. Description. Ignores any diminishing effects, restores all states, and clears all diminishing effects. Depending on the basic attribute value of the reincarnator, it can be used for different times and intervals. Additional description. After collecting the 9 formulas for replenishing the sky, you will automatically obtain the heart method, replenishing the sky technique. Qiao Jiqing believes that life preservation is the most important, so she has selected entries related to recovery and immunity in all screening tags. Fragmented pages. Li Bumian pondered for a moment and said, "Show me." Zhang Wenjie immediately said, after purchasing skills, they will automatically understand. As I mentioned, our bodies have already been digitized, but in reality, the essentials and operating rules of these skills are not allowed. It's okay. You can purchase now and showcase it. Li Bumian said to Qiao Jiqing in a commanding tone. Qiao Jiqing nodded weakly under pressure and used the skill after purchasing the automatic comprehension. However, nothing happened because Qiao Jiqing was already in a state of full blood. She just felt a lot of relief on her back and her arms became more agile. Great, you can purchase the remaining pages immediately. Any page. It's best to have the final version, the 9th formula. Li Bumian said calmly. Zhang Wenjie didn't know what Li Bumian was going to do. The rewards for these twins were all picked up without any effort, so he didn't feel sorry. However, seeing this kind of fuss was somewhat regrettable. Qiao Jiqing continued to use 10,000 points and a legendary exchange voucher to purchase the 9th move, which was an attack method. Qiao Jiqing didn't know if she should use it in this small space, and the power described was quite terrifying. As mentioned above, it can break down all the substances around the target unit and convert them into energy. Qiao Jiqing spoke timidly. It's okay. You attacked me. Li Bumian casually said. But. Qiao Jiqing hesitated a bit. Immediately. Li Bumian's tone is beyond doubt. Qiao Jiqing took a deep breath and released the 9 heavenly remediation moves in the active skill slot, bombarding Li Bumian. However, nothing happened. The power had already disappeared before it appeared, and Li Bumian understood the underlying logic and effortlessly resolved it. The mall should have everything. I need 80 pages of A4 paper. Li Bumian said to Zhang Wenjie, who is familiar with the mall. Zhang Wenjie only felt that the meaning was unclear. The minimum consumption in the mall is 1 point, and many miscellaneous items can be bought with 1 point. A4 paper can be bought for 1,000 pieces. But Zhang Wenjie felt it was unnecessary, so he bought 80 pages of A4 paper at 1 point and handed it to Li Bumian. Li Bumian's mind moved as he finished reading and writing on paper, all in regular script. This is the complete book of the technique of tonifying the heavens. I have said, those who are originally chaotic but have not been cured are not. Sometimes you don't need to rely on the power of reincarnation space, you must understand the essence of things. Only then can one become truly strong. This can be considered one of the benefits for members of Zhutian National Geographic. Li Bumian had already deduced the so-called sky-mending technique and calmly handed it to Qiao Jiqing. The mysterious man vomited a puddle of blood, and he regretted it all along. Qiao Jixin and Lilian were already stunned and immediately searched for items related to leftover pages in the mall. Zhang Wenjie's brain was completely blank. Zhenai. Gaidai strong. Thank you to the leader of the Stacked Fertilizer Alliance. On the day it was launched, there were 2 and 3 basic changes. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Authentic Captain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Authentic Captain. The eerie man's tears flowed down his face, he laughed heartily, his mouth curved in a ghostly way, and he trembled with regret. On a hot day, his whole body was sweating cold, and his hands and feet were cold. Lilian is not interested in those mysterious Eastern magic. Abyss Pacer's Magic Weapon Mystery. Remnant Page 1, Value. 10,000 points, Legendary Prop Exchange Coupon X1. Grade. Legend Requirement. 50 Talent Points. Attribute. Can generate powerful spiritual weapons from the void, and can increase duration and strength based on spiritual attributes. Description. A hero enters the Abyss to defeat the Lord of the Abyss. Additional description. After collecting all 18 remaining pages, you will automatically obtain swordsmanship, Abyss strolling. Is this okay? Lilian also exchanged 2 residual pages, and she cleverly chose a skill with a large number of pages. It is equivalent to saying that a complete abyss walking swordsmanship requires a total of 18 legendary exchange vouchers, which is too much for ordinary reincarnators to think of. She also has some shortness of breath. As long as she learns this, she will definitely have no problem protecting herself in the task world. You need to demonstrate it first. Li Bumian said calmly. Lilian did not hesitate. With Qiao Jiqing's successful precedent, she released this skill, and a void cracked on the side of her arm. A semi-transparent sword blade, burning with a faint purple light, was held in her hand, as if distorting the surrounding space. The carriage presented the misty summer heat wave, with tremendous power. Immediately after, Lilian demonstrated another weapon, but it quickly dissipated. On the contrary, her lips lost some color because her mental foundation was not enough, so she could only support it for a while. Li Bumian had already completed the deduction, but still asked Zhang Wenjie to take out an A4 paper and recite it in an instant. Afterwards, it was handed to Lilian. Due to differences in cultural customs and the enthusiasm of the Gaul region, Alice, who was overjoyed, had a hot head and forgot that the person in front of her had intercepted the immortal emperor and killed the outer god. She was ready to hug Li Bumian and kiss her face. Li Bumian appeared calm on the surface, but in reality, he felt a great shock. Immediately, a finger pressed against Lilian's forehead. It's not that Li Bumian's tendency is biased or indifferent. Pure because it's not enough to fill a cup. The sound and lust of dogs and horses have no lofty aspirations, and the supreme power that dominates the various realms is obviously the latter. To fill the cup. Li Bumian is willing to gamble on everything. First, take a look to see if you can understand. Li Bumian actually has doubts about this. Although he has written in plain language that is easy to understand and contains the lowest level of logic, can these guys really understand it? Lilian flipped through a few pages and focused on reading. Is it because there are enough talent points? After being digitized. I can directly understand these words, not that I really understand, but through this talent of digitization, I am transforming and just becoming a part of instinct. Lilian was a bit puzzled. This feeling was extremely stiff, but she could indeed see it clearly. Li Bumian's interest in the behind-the-scenes personnel of the reincarnation train has deepened, not only in physics, but also in consciousness. Can we achieve a unified balance? There's something there. Li Bumian didn't take it to heart. If that guy really wants to do anything, even if it's not good, he just needs to unlock some divine power restrictions and demonstrate the supreme martial arts of hanging and beating the heavens, a subtle mystery. As long as it can be used. Li Bumian said calmly. The big stone in Zhang Wenjie's heart fell. He told these people to choose skills that can also add basic attributes, whether it is the complete heavenly repair technique or the complete abyss walk, which can improve basic attributes. Now, these people are not only making a qualitative leap, but it's also uncertain whether they can truly become a powerful guild. Afterwards, twin sisters Qiao Jixin and Zhang Wenjie followed suit and selected their desired skills in the mall. Just demonstrate once. Li Bumian can deduce it immediately. Alright. Devote oneself to cultivation. Don't forget the task I gave you. You can distribute the remaining points and redemption vouchers as you please. Li Bumian is preparing to return to Captain Zhen's room and continue his meditation. Journal reports, papers. Do you have any requirements? Zhang Wenjie spoke seriously, believing that this matter was by no means that simple. Just discover the truth in your way and complete it with your heart. That's it. Li Bumian's words were calm, I remember. Zhang Wenjie believes that it is necessary to do a good job in the world for the next mission. Later, not only should we use our points to buy some professional props for photography equipment, but we also need to buy some books related to layout design. Lilian. You put the real captain in a wheelchair. Next time in the mission world, be sure to take care of him. Don't lose it, it can be used when necessary. Zhang Wenjie spoke seriously. Use. Li Bumian was shaken and turned around with great interest. It's like this, Senior. Although Captain Zhen is mentally unstable, his body is very strong. The last mission world was a super large dungeon maze with many traps and mechanisms. So Zhang Wenjie began to describe the situation of that mission. When encountering passages or dark rooms, the real team leader is first pushed out using a wheelchair to explore the path and eliminate all the mechanisms on the way. Sometimes the real team leader is pierced by 10,000 arrows, sometimes soaked in corrosive liquids, or fiercely attacked by high-temperature flames. It can also be used as bait for dungeon monster rooms, pushing him first to attract the monster's firepower, and then oneself, the reincarnators, can go up. Without him, it would really be difficult to survive that time. Zhang Wenjie touched his nose and said awkwardly. Li Bumian looked expressionless, but his heart was already struck by lightning. What do you think of the captain as? His soul is weak. Interesting. Li Bumian stopped talking and prepared to leave. Senior. Can I learn your martial arts? Dad. The cunning man looked at a set of powerful skills that could only be obtained with more than 10 legendary exchange vouchers, and his face twisted with jealousy, crying and laughing, which was extremely terrifying. Zhang Wenjie frowned. His cerebral palsy was too unpredictable. He had already embraced his thigh and officially taken off. If it made him unhappy, although he didn't know the reason why this mysterious man was powerful, he would definitely not pass it lightly. His brain was sick. Senior, don't worry, his head. Not waiting for Zhang Wenjie to finish speaking. Of course you can. Li Bumian gave an extremely rare smile, but it was fleeting. I saw a Lilian drooling directly, and I didn't notice it before in shock. This is too handsome, right? The twin sisters also swallowed her throat and felt dizzy. Zhang Wenjie couldn't believe that Li Bumian would reply like this. Is it really so easy to teach people? Is it that simple? Li Bumian does indeed come from the bottom of his heart, and in fact, he also wants to have someone to inherit and establish a sect. However, does such an apprentice really exist? I haven't waited for the cunning man to be happy yet. But I need to test your qualifications first. Say it. Li Bumian took out a book from the galaxy space he had cut. Please first understand the content of this book. This is the most preliminary test, a relatively simple content. After passing, I will test your other talents. Li Bumian threw out a basic topology book. The cunning man steadily caught it and opened it to look at the catalog. Measurable mappings, topological homeomorphism, metric spaces, fixed point theory, fundamental groups, simple partitions, knot and overlap spaces. As Li Bumian returned to his room, he closed the door. The mysterious man glanced at the first article a few times. Perhaps Li Bumian had already assumed that he knew linear algebra, as well as complex functions and integral transformations. The mysterious man. Completely incomprehensible. He lifted his head and scanned the crowd present. Friends. My fate is up to you. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Night Before Collecting Wind. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Night Before Collecting Wind. 9 days later. All the reincarnators of XGN.9969 have gathered in the common space of the carriage. Captain Zhen was never absent, sitting in a corner for a whole 10 days, and by this time, he had been lifted onto a wheelchair by a Lilian. Because the twin sisters are new, they volunteered to take care of the real captain in this mission world, at least responsible for pushing his wheelchair. Zhang Wenjie looked at the information on the window panel. There is still 10.33 left before entering the mission world. Zhang Wenjie has already looked at the attribute panel of others, and through the complete skill of the mysterious man's performance, the entire team has received an exaggerated improvement. However, he still did not understand the essence of things as he said, but instead transformed the text into skills in the skill slot through his talent for digitization. Lilian's Abyss Stroll has become a part of the passive skill slot, and Xiao Jiqing's Heavenly Repair technique is no exception. All basic attributes increase with the Comprehension skill. To grow into full attributes, one needs to continuously improve proficiency through the use of skills. Zhang Wenjie and Xiao Zhixin are also like this. That mysterious man was right to give himself all his talents. A talent that can only be obtained with 10 attribute points is the best choice with the support of the Supreme Power, and there is no one. I just don't know if the text content found in the mission world can also be used in this way, or if it is only a mall item. Also, I don't know what's going on. Other people's skill books bound in A4 paper cannot be understood. They have tried to exchange with each other, but for some reason, they cannot do it. They still cannot understand it, simply because Li Bumian has seen through the ultimate essence of these skills, and the compiled text contains the lowest level logic, possessing that essence, which can be decoded by their talent, without any difference. Any other text cannot be decoded, and they also need a data-driven body that has been exchanged for broken pages to have decoding function, so they cannot borrow from each other. I used the remaining points and redemption vouchers to buy some hot weapons, as well as powerful disposable items, and then opened the legendary equipment self-selected blind box obtained from the previous hidden mission. Zhang Wenjie believes that the growth of the team has definitely reached the point where it can be called a strong team. Milestone. Exotic Hunter. In addition to numerical values, equipment, and skill systems, there is also a title system in the reincarnation space, which can only be obtained by unlocking milestones. Usually, a reincarnator can only wear one title. The same applies to equipment, which is limited to specific parts and cannot be worn with 2 tops or 2 bottoms at the same time. And the best reward for that hidden task is this title. External God Hunter, Grade. Legend. Type. Title. Attribute. When attacking secretive units, an additional 100% damage will be added, weakening the final settlement damage of secretive units and secretive damage by 50%. Description. Only the strongest investigator can receive this honor. Zhang Wenjie is extremely eager for the next mission world to be a mysterious world. As long as he wears this title, he can be said to have been invincible, and like a snowball, he can complete various side missions with strong strength, unlock hidden missions, and become even stronger after his next return. There are only 9 minutes left. Zhang Wenjie looked at the 4 members of the team. The twin sisters were still nervous. After all, the first mission world encountered such a horrible monster. Lilian is relatively calm, and she can also be called an experienced hand. As for the cunning man, the meaning is completely unclear. The huge regret seems to have shattered his mind, unable to close his chin, and his eyes glazed. Is there any way to awaken the true captain? Xiao Jiqing weakly asked Alice, because Zhang Wenjie always looks exhausted and doesn't want to bring him more trouble. Alice, who is also a girl, should be better off. If the true captain is always in this state, he can never know in advance what the next mission world is, which will be a huge disadvantage. Alice let out a sigh. There's no way. We have tried everything. Even if it's all the elves in front of him. He wouldn't even lift his eyes. A complete mental breakdown, you know. Alice shook her head, thinking that this was the only way to make it. Don't you go find that senior. Lilian said to Zhang Wenjie that it would be better for him, who is currently the team leader, to go. Since the last gathering, that person has been in the room without leaving, without any communication. Alice just realized that she didn't even know the name of that person. Perhaps it would be better for you to go. In a sense. It was you who summoned him that established fate with our team. Moreover, women are more likely to win others' favor. Zhang Wenjie believes that his analysis is more logical. The mysterious man once said that as long as he completes the project, he can obtain his protection, and he is the true ultimate guarantee. As long as the person who intercepts the immortal emperor and kills the outer god is present, and even the person who can confront the reincarnation space is present, any problem will no longer be a problem. Yuan. Lilian gave Zhang Wenjie a white glance. Although the mysterious man had a stunning appearance, it was too late for him to take the initiative at other times. However, the pressure on him was too strong, giving people a strong sense of estrangement. Even those who were familiar with him dared not easily talk. Lilian took a deep breath and walked to Captain Zhen's room, knocking on the door. Li Bumian in the room opened his eyes and stopped meditating. Calculate the time. They should be entering the mission world, so they need to discuss some things with themselves. But ordinary door opening does not reflect one's personal style. In an instant, Li Bumian had already appeared in the public space of the carriage, but that sudden sense of seclusion didn't seem like he had come here, but rather this place had come to his feet. So, this is the first mission world experienced by the guild. I have some requirements. Li Bumian spoke calmly. Lilian turned around and felt relieved, but fortunately no one faced him. What requirements? We will definitely complete it. We have prepared the journal reports and papers you mentioned earlier. We will also unconditionally agree to other requirements. Zhang Wenjie knew very well that he would take off with his thighs in his arms and would not refuse any request. Very good. You mentioned it before. There are many mission worlds that engage in battles with other carriages. Threats. It's always there. In addition to the requirements of the project, one more thing needs to be achieved. No matter at any time or place, we cannot compromise. Do you understand what I mean? What Li Bumian wants is to test the power of the universe, create a powerful guild, dominate the various realms, and use this invisible hand that he controls to measure the heavens at the richest level. Any unmatched guild, no matter how terrifying and powerful, will be directly pushed horizontally. Compromise. Does it mean that one cannot accept softness? Zhang Wenjie asked. He couldn't keep up, but that's basically what he meant. You can understand it this way. Even if the knife is on your neck, you will die immediately. We cannot do anything that would damage the face of the guild at all. Otherwise, I will clean up the portal. That's all for now. When encountering an unresolved crisis, just give me my name. Say it. Li Bumian's figure gradually faded away and eventually disappeared without a trace. But what exactly is your name, senior? Zhang Wenjie has already been frightened by these somewhat terrifying words. Cleaning up the door, these 4 words carry a considerable weight. What if he really encounters coercion from a super strong team? For Li Bumian, a master without mystery is like a microwave without heating function, pure iron waste. He will never say his name. Zhang Wenjie watched the countdown and a cold sweat appeared on his forehead, as he was about to arrive in a completely unfamiliar place. The twins, Lilian, and others were also shocked by these words. Sure enough, isn't all of this without a cost? Li Bumian shuttles through the turbulence of the void. He had already determined the coordinates of the next mission world based on the train's trajectory, but he didn't tell them, appearing meticulous and completely lacking in checks. Li Bumian said so. In fact, it's because these guys are so weak that even if they learn legendary skills, it feels like they haven't learned them yet. It's even harder to take care of babies when the wind blows, and protecting them on the way seems like a nanny. The supreme expert personally takes charge, which is also too foolish. So go to that world in advance and beat the strong ones standing on the peak first, letting them become nannies. So, the cultivation world of the entire Tianyuan continent is unknown. What kind of terrifying, invincible, and powerful person will come next, who will conquer the heavens? Thank you to the leader of Silver Wing Angela, and thank you to Daming for not being a cute leader. On the day of listing, the basic double update +3 update +3 update +3 update, end of this chapter. Chapter 10. Heavenly Yuan Emperor Zun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Heavenly Yuan Emperor Zhutian Yuan Continent. Zhejiang Mountain Range. The towering and undulating peaks stretch for thousands of miles, with lush and towering ancient trees, and the natural scenery is magnificent and magnificent. The vast expanse of the earth, with its vast expanse that cannot be seen to the fullest, exudes a desolate and distant atmosphere. As a chaotic area at the intersection of the 9 realms of the Tianyuan continent, with abundant spiritual energy and rampant demons, ordinary people are unable to leave even after exhausting their lives, and their children and grandchildren are also born in vain. This mountain cannot be moved by Yugong. It has also been designated as a forbidden area. Since ancient times, cultivators from the 9 realms of the heavenly Yuan would rather cross the barriers between the realms than dare to pass through here. Among them, there are countless great demons, among which the top-notch demon immortal path runs through the sky, and between breathing and breathing, they can draw a hanging star curtain from the sky. The eyes are filled with magnificent mountains and rivers. Li Bumian greatly appreciated the primitive terrain, and the exotic scenery was truly magnificent, giving off a sense of grandeur. From then on, we will horizontally push the vast universe and dominate the heavens. The sudden display of pressure caused countless types of flying birds and demon birds in the canyon beneath their feet to feel their souls and spirits scattered. This pressure was simply due to the visitors' lack of killing intent, otherwise they would be shocked and killed, as if they were about to die. They flew away in an instant, and countless streams of light quickly escaped from this place. Li Bumian did not intend to protect those reincarnations along the way, nor did he ever plan to accompany them. The so-called Supreme Master, hidden in the universe, is invisible and invisible. Once he takes action, it will turn the world upside down. He also has his own things to do. Calculating the time, those guys should arrive in about 6 or 7 minutes. During this period, I will first find a few nannies, and I can almost handle it. I will clean up one in a second, and it will take me 2 minutes to persuade them. 3 are about the same. If you only look for 2, in your absence, you will either suspect and oppose each other, or play tricks with yourself by sharing a grudge. If you look for 3, you can balance each other and achieve a stable state. As Zhang Wenjie said, every time you enter the mission world, the reincarnation space will automatically replenish new members, and the number is random. Do you need to find more nannies? Li Bumian pondered for a moment, but let it go. These reincarnators at least have no problem walking on their own, except for the true captain, who only needs 3 thugs. So, Li Bumian followed the strongest wave of the 9 realms mountains and began headhunting. Emperor Zun, just now I was wandering around and observing many places in the 9 realms mountains. I found a place where birds were flying and beasts were running around, including great demons. It's really strange, no one has visited for tens of thousands of years. Is it because another true immortal has emerged from the Wanjing immortal sect, wanting to come here to suppress the ancient turmoil? Out of measure. A Qilan demon is reporting. Inside the huge cave, the whole body was pitch black, except for the faint flickering candlelight, a scene of silence. The wall carvings at the end of the underground palace are lifelike dragons and phoenixes, and the buildings of the immortal palace are also real and illusory. Each stone pillar at the edge of the wall is several tens of zhang high, with intricate scriptures on it, supporting the structure of the underground palace. Under the wall carvings of the immortal palace, there is an imperial throne with an ancient stone on its back leading to the top of the underground palace. On top of it sits a person named Emperor Zun by the Qilan demon, unable to see his face clearly. He sits sideways, with his hands resting on the armrest and his head resting on it. You are not good at handling things. It's time to cut it off. The guest has arrived. That voice is majestic and unparalleled. Click. The figure above the throne, with just a moment of killing intent, the Qilan demon immortal who reported the news had already been beheaded, and the primordial spirit had been chopped down, turning into powder and scattered with the wind, like crushing ants. As Li Bumian appeared in the underground palace, the flames on both sides of the lamp sockets became strong, rising one by one from under his feet towards the edge of the imperial throne. Finally, the faint blue eternal flame illuminated the entire underground palace. It also reveals the true identity of the emperor. Wearing a black and white robe, the patterns on the robe resemble flying fish and kunpeng wandering in the clouds, as if in old age. There is a faint white thread in the long hair, with long whiskers, and there is no joy or anger due to Li Bumian's visit. He still sits sideways with his hands resting on his head, and his solemn eyes have an ancient and desolate aura, not angry but majestic. Just standing in front of me feels like carrying all the famous mountains in the world, and I dare not breathe. Li Bumian was in a hurry and had to solve 3 people within 6 minutes and make them understand the situation. Little friend, I don't know the etiquette, come here. Not waiting for Emperor Zun to finish speaking. Bang! Emperor Zun's chest had already opened a large hole, with blood gushing out. He also vomited a pool of black blood from his mouth. This blow had already injured his life gate. If it weren't for the strong support of a drop of immortal king essence that had been condensed for thousands of years, his body would have died. From the tumultuous years of ancient times to the present day, one's terrifying physical body can split countless stars with just one palm, suppress mountains and rivers, level the heavens and earth, conquer the universe, and possess unparalleled divine powers. Who exactly is the newcomer? I have some skills. Emperor Zun stood up, an endless pressure erupted, his long hair moving freely without wind. Even his power caused the top of the underground palace to be lifted, shattering the vast mountains around him. Suddenly, the sky and earth changed color, and the wind and clouds rolled back, causing the stars to move around in the sky. He used the kunpeng divine technique to gather yin and yang forces, and the refining method became a pool. He wanted to use all beings in heaven and earth as the cauldron to cultivate a chaotic and boundless fire, but he had not yet had time to exert his power. Xiao Dao air. Li Bumian casually said. Bang! His head was shattered, and the small half of his head had already been blown away. The immortal king's mind had been shattered and pulled away from the mortal world. Fortunately, the emperor timely pulled him back from the vastness, otherwise he would have died. Emperor Zun was momentarily stunned, his consciousness somewhat blurred as he covered his head and stumbled a few steps. Li Bumian never used a single punch or palm from beginning to end, just picked up 2 stones casually and popped them out with his thumb. When Emperor Zun reacted, there was no spiritual power or immortal element fluctuation around him, only pure power, and it was a force that was controlled to the extreme precision. Otherwise, the power of the 2 strikes just now was not only in this underground palace, but also in the 9 realms of the heavenly element, which would have destroyed all living beings and caused them to hang upside down. Wait. There is something to say, there is something to say. What can I do for you, senior? I, Wei, am willing to help. The Emperor Zun's cup was all dropped at once, and he began to speak good words. The young friend upgraded to a senior, and the person in front of him was so powerful that he couldn't understand. Li Bumian only felt unlucky. At a glance, he saw that the old monster had already lived for 500,000 years, and his mother, the elder, had given me a break. However, this old monster is somewhat skilled, and is slightly inferior to the immortal emperor he intercepted. What kind of realm should it be? Li Bumian has no concept of realm, and for him, all systems are just small paths, almost like a fairy king, barely enough. I need you to help me with something. I come from outside the universe, and a few students are here to experience. I want you to take care of me without any mistakes. Li Bumian said calmly, there should be enough time in about 5 minutes. Beyond the universe. I see. Emperor Zun's face showed hesitation and he was pondering. His immortal king's path had already traveled to various realms, only to see that the 9 realms mountain range was graceful and elegant, and he had hidden here as a treasure trove. This so-called Tianyuan continent is also a corner of this world. It is rumored that in ancient times, there was an immortal emperor who could completely transcend, open up the gates of various wonders, and go to the end of the road. With this person's strength, it is obviously not as simple as coming from other continents. Unexpectedly, I have been wandering through the wilderness for tens of thousands of years, but now I have to be a servant, which is really not guaranteed. Haha. Emperor Zun looked up to the sky and howled long, knowing that his fate had ended. The cause and effect had not yet ended, and he did not want to end up with regret, but being a slave was not enough. I, Wei, swept through the turbulent times of ancient times in order to achieve the path we have today. I have a lifelong reputation, and my aura engulfs the world. Not waiting for Emperor Zun to finish speaking. Li Bumian is in a hurry. It seems that this old monster wants to forcefully fill a cup, give a life testimony, and save the evening. Isn't that a waste of time? When the reincarnation team arrived later, they accidentally stumbled on a stone and knocked themselves to death. Li Bumian was able to plant restraint in his primordial spirit, but that method did not reflect the style of his supreme master. I can enlighten you and prove your position as the immortal emperor for a while. Li Bumian said so. Wei Ming. After a moment of silence, the person showed an incomprehensible strength and indeed had this ability. Wei is willing to serve. Wei Ming bowed slightly and bowed, this is the word of justice. End of this chapter.